Hi guys, good morning. So today we are going to discuss our next topic, that is the classification of malocclusion. So what is malocclusion? It is the abnormal alignment of the upper and the lower teeth. That is what we call as the malocclusion. So the malocclusion, it is of two types, the intra-arch malocclusion and the inter-arch malocclusion. So the intra-arch malocclusion, it means the malocclusion which occurs within the same arch, while the inter-arch malocclusion, this is the malocclusion, or this is the abnormal relationship which occurs between the two teeth or between the group of the teeth of involving one arch or both the arches, mainly both the arches. Fine. So starting with the first one, that is the intra-arch, which means the malocclusion which occurs within the same arch. For example, the mesial inclination. So this is the mesial inclination. So this is a condition where the crown, this is the crown of the tooth, it is tilted in the mesial direction, while the distal inclination is, it is the crown, or it is refers to a condition where the crown of the tooth, it is tilted to the distal position. Fine, this is called as the distal inclination. Next is the lingual and the labial inclination. So the lingual inclination, this is an abnormal lingual or the palatal tilting of the tooth, or you can say there is a tilting of the tooth on a palatal area or on a lingual area, while the labial inclination is, it means there is a labial tilting of the tooth. This is the normal position of the tooth, this is the labial tilting, this is the normal position of the tooth, this is the lingual tilting. Fine. So next is, this is the supra-occlusion, or you can say this is the supraversion or the supra-occlusion. It means this is a tooth which has over-erupted as compared to the other teeth. Fine. This is what we called as the supraversion or the supra-occlusion. Next is the infra-occlusion or the infraversion. It means it refers to the tooth which has not fully developed or not fully erupted, which as compared to the other teeth. These teeth, these are fully erupted, and these teeth, these are not fully erupted. That is why it is called as the infra-occlusion or the infraversion. So these all are the intra-arch malocclusion. It means the malocclusion, it is occurring in a same arch. Now coming on to the inter-arch malocclusion. So inter-arch malocclusion, it is the abnormal relationship between the two teeth, or it also involves the two arches, that are the upper and the lower arches. So the inter-arch malocclusion, it is mainly occurs in the three plane: the sagittal plane, the vertical plane, and the transverse plane. So first is the sagittal plane. So this includes the condition where the upper and the lower arches, they are abnormally related to each other. Fine. So these are of two types. Number one, it is the pre-normal occlusion and the post-normal occlusion. What is the difference between the two? See, the pre-normal occlusion, it refers to a condition where the lower arch, it is more forwardly placed. The lower arch is more forwardly placed, and when the patient bites in the centric occlusion, it means the sagittal plane is in the anterior or posterior direction. It means the proclination, right? And the retroclination, this is this anterior posterior. This plane is called as the sagittal plane. Coming on to the next plane, that is the vertical plane. It means in this condition, vertical plane, it includes the open bite. This is the open bite, and this is the deep bite. Fine. So the deep bite, it is a condition where the excessive, this is the excessive vertical overlap. See, there is the excessive vertical overlap of the upper incisor. This is what we called as deep bite, and the open bite, it is a condition when there is no overlapping. In this you can see the bite is open because there is no overlapping of the upper and the lower teeth, or upper and the lower arch. Right? So sagittal plane, it is the anterior posterior plane, it means the proclination and the retroclination. The vertical plane, this plane, which means the open bite and the deep bite. Coming on to the transverse plane. So the transverse plane, it is an inter-arch malocclusion, which includes various type of the cross bite. Either number one, the anterior cross bite and the posterior cross bite. So the posterior cross bite, it is also known as scissor bite. Fine. So this is what we called as anterior cross bite. This one is anterior cross bite, and this one is the buccal or the posterior cross bite or the scissor bite. So the scissor bite, when your cross bite occurs in the posterior segment, that is when you call a cross bite with the name of the scissor bite, and anterior cross bite is when an anterior tooth is in cross bite. Right? So these are the two planes, and this is about the transverse plane. I am repeating it again, don't get confused. The sagittal plane is in this plane, that is the anterior and posterior, it means the proclination and the retroclination. Vertical plane means this, the open bite and the deep bite. Transverse plane means this plane, it means the cross bite and anterior cross bite and the scissor bite. Fine. So next is the angle system of the classification, which was given by Edward H. Engel in year 1899. So basically the angles classification, it was the first which was on the basis of the mesiodistal relation of the teeth, dental arches and on jaws. According to him, according to the Engel, the maxillary first molar is the key to occlusion, commonly asked MCQ. Please note it down. According to Engel, the maxillary first molar, important, is the key to the occlusion. So the Engel, he gave three classification: class 1, class 2 and class 3. So starting with the Engel's class 1. So in this is the upper molar and this is the lower molar. So Engel's defined class 1 malocclusion that the mesiobuccal cusp of the upper permanent maxillary first molar, it occludes into the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. This is what the Engel's class 1. I am repeating it again. See, this is the mesiobuccal cusp of the, this cusp is the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary permanent first molar. It occludes in the, this is the buccal groove. So the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first permanent molar, it occludes in the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. This is what we call as the Engel's class 1 malocclusion. Fine. So you can see the malocclusion which are related to that class 1 malocclusion with the crowding, with the spacing, with rotations, with missing tooth, etc. Fine. These all are the condition which you have found with the, or which you have find with the Engel's class 1 malocclusion. Fine. So after this, coming on to the Engel's class 2 malocclusion. So the Engel's class 2 malocclusion, in this is the upper molar and this is the lower molar. So Engel's class 2 malocclusion or Engel's class 2 molar relationship, it defines that the distobuccal cusp, this is the distobuccal cusp of the maxillary first permanent molar, it occludes in the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. I repeat, the distobuccal cusp. In class 1 there was a mesiobuccal cusp, while in Engel's class 2 there was a distobuccal cusp. Fine. The distobuccal cusp, it occludes in the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. This is what we called as the Engel's class 2. Now Engel's class 2, it is divided into two parts, the class 2 division 1 and class 2 division 2. What is the basic difference between the two? See, in class 2 division 1, first of all there is a proclination of maxillary central incisor as well as maxillary lateral incisor. Fine. While in class 2 division 2 there is retroclination of maxillary central incisors. Very important, commonly asked MCQ. Fine. So as I have already told you, this is the molar relationship. The distobuccal cusp of the maxillary first molar, it occludes in the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. Fine. So this is the main difference, the proclination in class 2 division 1, and in class 2 division 2 there is retroclination of the maxillary central incisor. Now coming on to the differences between the two. See, the overjet, as you can see, the overjet is increased in class 2 division 1, and in this case there is no overjet. Can you see? There is no overjet. So the overjet is decreases in class 2 division 2. Right? Coming on to the profile, when see marked it as a soft tissue. Fine. So the profile, it should be convex. Why? Because of the proclination in class 2 division 1, and there is a straight profile. There is no proclination, so there must be a straight profile. So it is straight in class 2 division 2. The profile is straight, or it is very mildly convex. Fine. Now coming on to the lips, when a patient having class 2 division 1, there is a proclination of the tooth or the proclination of the anterior teeth, so there is lips are incompetent. It means the lip will not close. While in this there is no proclination, in fact there is a retroclination and the profile is straight, so the lips are competent in class 2 div 2. Fine. So the arch form, so when you see this, the arch form is more likely to have V-shaped, and in this, in class 2 division 2, it is of U shape and mostly square, while in class 2 division 1 the arch form is V shape and narrow arch. Due to the proclination, the arch is like this, and in class 2 division 2 the arch is broad. Right. Now coming on to the palate, so in class 2 division 1 the palate is deep due to the proclination, and in class 2 division 2 the depth of the palate is normal. Fine. Now coming on to the path of closure, so in this your mandible will close in a normal pathway. So the path of closure is normal in class 2 division 1, while there is a retroclination, so the mandible will close backward. So in this, the path of closure in class 2 division 2 is backward. Fine. Now coming on to the lower facial height, so the lower facial height, due to this your proclination in class 2 division 1, the lower facial height either normal or increased, while in class 2 div 2 there is retroclination and there is growth. See, as I've already told you in the previous lecture, the hypodivergent and hyperdivergent. In the hyperdivergent there is long and narrow face, in the hypodivergent there is broad and short face. So mostly the hypodivergent can seen in class 2 division 2 and hyperdivergent is seen in class 2 division 1. So it means the normal facial, or sorry, the lower facial height in case of class 2 division 1 is either normal or increased, while in class 2 it is decreased. Right? And the malar prominence or the malar process, it is not prominent in case of class 2 division 1, while it is prominent in case of class 2 division 2. Fine. Important point that class 2 division 1, the molar is in class 2 and there is a proclination of the incisors, therefore lips are not able to close, and you can say there are lip incompetence or lip incompetency. And in case of class 2 div 2, there are retroclination of the maxillary central incisor, therefore the lips are competent. Very important point for your MCQs. Right? Now after class 1, class 2, now coming on to the class 2 subdivision. What do you mean by class 2 subdivision? See, class 2 subdivision in this, when one side the molar relation is class 2 and on the another side the molar relation is class 1. It means, on for example, on this side the molar relation is class 2 and on this side the molar relation is class 1. Class 2 means the distobuccal cusp, it falls into the buccal groove of the, or it occludes into the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar, and which means class 2 on one side, and class 1, which means the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first permanent molar, it occludes into the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. It is class 1. That is why we known as class 2 subdivision. It means class 2 on one side and class 1 molar relation on another side. Fine. Now after this, coming on to the class 3 relation. So Engel's class 3 relation, it means in this the mesiobuccal cusp, this is the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first permanent molar, it is occluding between the interdental space of mandibular first and second molar. I am repeating it again. Class 3 is when your mesiobuccal cusp, it falls in the interdental groove between the mandibular first and mandibular second molar. This is what we called as class 3 malocclusion. Fine. So the class 3 malocclusion, it is again of two types. We have true class 3 and pseudo class 3. True class 3 is, this is a skeletal class 3 malocclusion, which is important, genetic of origin. And the true class 3, it may be occur due to number 1, excessively large mandible, number 2, forwardly placed mandible, 3, smaller than normal mandible, and due to retroposition of mandible. So basically the true class 3, it is genetic in origin, and it may be occur due to if there is excessively large mandible. If there is excessively large mandible, if the mandible is forwardly placed, if there is a retroposition or the retroclined maxilla, or the combination of above two. Fine. And pseudo class 3, it means this type of malocclusion, it is produced by forward movement of the mandible. Why? In this, the patient moves his mandible into the forward direction during the jaw closure. This is what we call as postural or the habitual class 3 malocclusion. Right? So the pseudo class 3, it may be due to any presence of any occlusal prematurities. That is why, due to the presence of any occlusal prematurity, this is the tendency of a patient to bring his mandible forward during the jaw closure. This is what we call as pseudo class 3. Second condition, it may be in case of premature loss of deciduous posteriors. So in that case, the child, it tends to move the mandible into the forward direction, right? So this is the basic difference. True is basically the skeletal and it is genetic in origin, and pseudo is habitual. It means the patient knowingly moves his mandible into the forward direction, either due to the presence of any occlusal prematurities or in case of the premature loss of the deciduous posteriors, right? So in this, like with the class 2 subdivision, we have class 3 subdivision. In this, in one or at one point or at one side, there may be class 3 molar relation, and on the other side there is class 1 molar relationship. This is what we called as class 3 subdivision. I am repeating it again. The class 3 subcondition, it means there is class 3 molar relation on one side and class 1 molar relationship on another side. So after this, coming on to the Dewey's modification of the angle classification of malocclusion. I am repeating it again. This is the Dewey's modification. Modification of what? Modification of angles classification of malocclusion. So Dewey modified class 1 and class 3. There will be modification of class 1 and for the class 3. So class 1, very important, commonly asked MCQ. Please note it down. Class 1 includes the crowded anterior teeth, right? And class 2, it includes the maxillary incisor in the labio version, right? Class 1 is there will be class 1 malocclusion with the brunched or the anterior crowded or the crowded anterior teeth. Type 2 is there will be class 1. Class 1 malocclusion means there will be class 1 molar relationship, right? So class 1 with the maxillary incisor in the labio version. Type 3 is class 1. It means the molar relation is the class 1, and type 3, it involves the anterior crossbite. Type 4 includes the posterior crossbite, and type 5, in this, the permanent molar, it has drifted mesially. Why? Due to the early extraction of the deciduous molar or of the second premolar. Very important. The modification of class 1 in which the molar relation, it remains in the class 1 form or in class 1 condition. Type 1 is the crowded anterior teeth. Type 2 is the maxillary incisor in the labio version, and type 3 is anterior crossbite. Type 4 is posterior crossbite, and type 5 is your permanent molar has drifted mesially. So after this, coming on to the modifications for the class 3, important. So in this, the molar relation is in class 3. It means the mesiobuccal cusp, it falls in between the interdental groove of the mandibular first and the second molar. So it is of 3 types. Type 1, the normal incisor overlapping present. In type 2, there will be edge to edge incisor relationship, while in type 3, in this, the incisors are in crossbite. Right? The incisors are in crossbite. Important. So after see Dewey's modification. Now after this, coming on to the Lister's modification. So the Lister, he substituted the term the class 1, class 2 and class 3. So he substituted the 3 classes of the angles by the term of the malocclusion, like class 1 is the neutro occlusion, class 2 is the disto occlusion, and class 3 is the meso occlusion. Fine. The angles he given the class 1, class 2 and class 3, and the Lister modification is he substitutes the class 1, class 2 and class 3 into class 1 as a neutro occlusion. Neutro occlusion, it is a synonym of the angles class 1 malocclusion. Fine. And second, class 2 is your disto occlusion, it is the synonym of the angles class 2 malocclusion, and the mesio occlusion, it is the synonym of the angles. Class 3 malocclusion. Fine. And apart from this, he also added a few more terminologies which are important for your exam point of view. See, the linguo-occlusion, it means the lingual placement of a tooth or a group of teeth. Next is the supra-occlusion. Supra-occlusion means, for example, these are your teeth, your two central incisor, and this is your lateral incisor, this is your canine of the upper arch. So the supra-occlusion means when a tooth, for example, this is the lateral incisor, when a tooth or a group of teeth, they have erupted beyond the normal level. This is the normal level and this is the supra eruption of the lateral incisor. And infra-occlusion means, for example, this is your central incisors and this is your lateral incisor, this is your canine. So this infra-occlusion means when a tooth or a group of teeth, it is not erupted to the normal level. This is the normal level, and this, the lateral incisor, it is not erupted to the normal level. This is what we call as infra-occlusion. Supra-occlusion, it means over eruption. Infra-occlusion means the tooth which is not erupted fully or not erupted to the normal level. Next is the mesioversion. So the tooth which is mesial to the normal position. This is the tooth and this is in the mesial direction. Same way, the distal version is distal to the normal position. The transversion means transposition of two teeth. Transposition means, for example, this is your incisors, this is your lateral incisors, and these are your premolars. And this is your canine. This is the transposition. It means in the place of the canine there is the presence of premolar, and in the place of the premolar the canine is present. So this is transposition. Right? So he used the terminologies. The transversion means the transposition of the two teeth. Next is the exciversion. It is the abnormal axial inclination of the tooth. Next is the torsiversion, important MCQ. It is the rotation of a tooth around its long axis. Again, very important, commonly asked MCQ. Right? So this is all about the Lister's modification. Now after this, coming on to the Simon's classification. So in the Simon's classification, the malocclusion, it occurs in the anterior posterior, that is in the sagittal, in the transverse and in the vertical plane. So in this, the Simon, he had put forward the craniometric classification of the malocclusion, and the Simon's classification, it is related, very important, it is related to the dental arches in all these three planes. I am repeating it again, very important, commonly asked MCQ, that Simon, he related the dental arches in all the three planes, that is in the anterior posterior, in the vertical and in the transverse plane. Right? So the Simon system of the classification, he made use of the three anthropometric planes. So he used the FH plane, that is the Frankfurt horizontal plane. He used the orbital plane, and he used the mid sagittal plane. Now understand these three. See, this is the FH plane, Frankfurt horizontal plane. So this is a plane that connects the upper margin of the external auditory meatus to the infraorbital margin. See, the FH plane, it means the Frankfurt horizontal plane. This is the true plane. Fine. So Frankfurt horizontal plane, it extends or it connects the upper margin of the external, this is the external auditory meatus, to the infraorbital margin. So this plane is called as Frankfurt horizontal plane. Second is the orbital plane. So the orbital plane, this plane, and it is perpendicular to your Frankfurt horizontal plane. Fine. So in this plane, that is the orbital plane, it is dropped downward. This is dropped downward from the bony orbital margin directly under the pupil of the eye. This plane directly under the pupil of the eye. Very important, the Simon's orbital plane, guys, please note it down, very important. This plane, it should pass through the distal third of the canine, or of the upper canine. That is why it is called as Simon's law of canine. MCQ. Fine. Now coming on to the third plane, this is the mid-sagittal plane. So mid-sagittal plane, which divides into the two halves, the left portion and the right portion. Fine. See, now the Frankfurt horizontal plane, it is a vertical plane. Important points, it is a vertical plane, or you can say it is the plane which is used to classify the malocclusion in a vertical plane. Fine. So in this there are two terminologies, the attraction. Guys, please don't get confused in these terminologies, very important for your MCQs, though confusing also. Attraction and abstraction. These are the two terminologies which are related to the Frankfurt horizontal plane. Now coming on to the attraction. See, means when the dental arches, these are closer to the FH plane, then we called it as a attraction. And when the dental arches, these are away to the FH plane, we called it as abstraction. Fine. Same way for the orbital, this, as I've already told you, that this plane, it is perpendicular to the horizontal plane. This is FH plane and this is your orbital plane. This is perpendicular to your FH plane, and this plane, it is used to describe the malocclusion in the anterior posterior plane. The Frankfurt is in the vertical plane, it is used to define the malocclusion in the vertical plane, while in the orbital it is used to define the malocclusion in the anterior posterior plane. So in this we have two terminologies for the orbital. We have the protraction, number one, and we have the retraction. So the protraction, it means when the dental arches, these are farther from the orbital plane, then we called it as a protraction. And when the dental arches, it is posteriorly placed in relation to the orbital plane, then we called it as retraction. Fine. It means the protraction, it means when the dental arch, it is placed farther from the orbital plane, it is called as protraction. And when the arch or the part of the arch, it is closer to the orbital plane, or it is placed more posteriorly in relation to this plane, it is called as retraction. Next is the mid-sagittal plane. So in this is used to describe the plane in a transverse direction, or the transverse plane. This is the FH plane, it is used to describe in the vertical direction. The orbital, it is used to describe it in the anterior posterior or in the sagittal direction, and the mid sagittal, it is used to define the malocclusion in the transverse direction. So in this we have two terminologies, the distraction and the contraction. So the distraction means the arch or the dental arch when it is away from the mid sagittal plane, then we call it as distraction. And contraction is when the dental arch is closer to the mid sagittal plane, we called it as contraction. Fine. So after this, next classification is the Ackermann and the Prophet classification. Again, very important classification. So the Ackermann and the Prophet, they gave this classification in year 1960, and they proposed this a diagrammatic representation of the malocclusion. Why? To overcome the angles classification. So this system of classification, it is based on the VENN, Venn symbolic diagram. Fine. So this Venn symbolic diagram, it has a 5 characteristic features, or the 5 characteristics. Number 1 is the alignment. Fine. First step is the alignment. Very important, it is the outer envelope. This is the inter-arch alignment. This is the only and the first step which is present outside the circle. So this is present in the outer envelope, MCQ. Fine. So this step, it involves the assessment of the alignment and symmetry of the dental arches, and it is classified as the ideal, the crowding and the spacing, ICS. I am repeating it again. First step is the alignment. It is called as the outer envelope, and this step, it involves the assessment of the alignment and the symmetry of the dental arches, and it is classified as the ideal, or the crowded, or the spaced. Fine. Second is the step 2 is profile. Fine. So this is step 2. This is step 1. This is step 2. This is profile, and it involves the consideration of profile. Like with the class 1, the profile is normally straight. In class 2 division 1, the profile is convex. In class 2 division 2, the profile is straight, either straight or mild convex, and in case of class 3, it is concave. So the step 2, it is basically tells about the profile. Fine. And step 3, it involves the type. So this is step 3. So step 3, in this, the transverse skeletal and the dental relationship. So in this, you can see there is a buccal crossbite, the palatal crossbite, which may be unilateral, which may be bilateral. Fine. So the it may involves the crossbite. Fine. So the crossbite, it may be unilateral or it may be bilateral. Fine. Fourth one is the step 4 is the clasp. Step 4 is the clasp. So this is step 4. So the step 4, it includes the assessment of the sagittal relationship, which involves the angles class 1, angles class 2 malocclusion, or class 2, as I have already told you, it is divided into 2 parts, class 2 division 1, class 2 division 2, or it may be class 3, depending upon the etiology. It may be differentiation, it is made on the basis of the skeletal or dental. And last is, fifth one is the step 5 is the bite depth. This is step 5. So in this, the malocclusion in the vertical direction. So as I've already told you, the vertical plane, in the vertical plane, it may be open bite, it may be deep bite. Now we'll discuss later the deep bite may be true deep bite, it may be pseudo deep bite. Fine. So I have made the mnemonic of this is A P T C. A P T C B. This is the alignment, the profile, the type, class and the bite depth. Very important classification. Right? So after this, important point for your MCQ, the malocclusion and their percentage, commonly asked MCQ. So in class 1 it is mainly with the crowded anterior teeth. The percentage is maybe 60 to 70%. In class 2 division 1 it is mostly 25 to 30%. In class 2 division 2 mostly 5 to 10%. Fourth is class 3, it is 5%. Apart from the class 1, 2, 3, open bite in the children it is mostly 5%. Fine. Sixth is the habits. For example, thumb sucking habits. For example, thumb sucking in the preschool children it is more than 50%. And lastly, the ideal occlusion, you can find the ideal occlusion in only 2 to 3% of the cases. Very important. So after this, next is the etiology of the malocclusion. So in this we have 3 classification according to the Moyer's classification. It may be hereditary, which may includes the neuromuscular system due to bone, teeth and soft part. Second is the developmental defects of the unknown origin. Third is it may be due to trauma. It may be due to prenatal trauma and the birth injuries. It may be due to postnatal trauma. Next is the physical agents, which includes the premature extraction of all the primary teeth Next is the nature of the food. Habits, it includes thumb sucking, the finger sucking, the tongue thrusting, lip sucking, posture, lip biting and other habits. Next are the diseases. It includes the systemic disease, endocrine disorder, local disease, nasopharyngeal disease, gingival and periodontal disease, tumors and caries. Seventh is the malnutrition. So this is the classification according to the Moyers. Coming on to the classification according to the White and the Gardiner, it is the dental base abnormalities. It may be due to anterior posterior malrelationship, due to vertical relationship, due to lateral relationship, due to disproportion of the size between the teeth and the basal bone, or due to congenital abnormalities. Next is due to the pre-eruption abnormalities. It may be due to the abnormalities in the position of the developing tooth germs, the missing teeth due to supernumerary teeth and teeth in the form or teeth in the abnormal form. Fourth one is the prolonged retention of the deciduous teeth, large labial frenum due to traumatic injury. Third one are the post-eruption abnormalities. It may be muscular, which includes the active muscle force, the rest position of the musculature, sucking habits, for example the finger sucking, the lip sucking, the abnormalities in the path closure, premature loss of the deciduous teeth and the extraction of the permanent teeth. So next is the Graves classification, very important. We usually follow the general factor and the local factor. General factor is due to, first is the hereditary, it is influenced by the genes. For example, in these type of patient you can see the tooth size. If the parents have a small tooth size, so the children is also having a small tooth size. The arch dimension, if a parent having a broad arch, so the patient or the child is also having a large or the large dimension of the arch, or the crowding or the spacing, and the overjet. If there is an increased overjet, it means there is a procrastination is present in the patient's mother, so the child is also having the procrastination. Next is the interarch variation, and due to the frenum, due to the midline diastema. Second is the congenital. So congenital, these are the defects or developmental defect which are seen many times at the time of the birth. These are mostly seen at the time of the birth, and these are maybe due to various factors, like due to genetic, due to radiologic, chemical, endocrine, infections, etc. Fine. So these congenital abnormalities, these are further classified as, I'm writing here, number 1, the general congenital factor, which includes the malnutrition, the abnormal state of mother during pregnancy, due to any infectious disease, due to, fourth one is due to accidents during the pregnancy. These are the general congenital factor. Second are the local congenital factors. It may be due to cleft lip and palate. The second is the macro or the microglossia, due to cleidocranial dysostosis. Fine. Third is the environment. The environmental factor, the prenatal. It is the prenatal. It is due to the maternal diet, due to germinal measles, maternal metabolism. Fine. And in this condition, you can also see there is teratogenicity effect, irradiation, which is also due to irradiation, due to teratogenicity, due to intrauterine fetal posture. Fine. So the environmental factors, it includes the germinal measles as an infection, and also it causes the teratogenicity or certain drugs which is taken up by the pregnant women or the pregnant mother, such as the thalidomide, which causes the cleft lip and palate. For example, taking the tetracycline causes the brownish yellowish stains in the child's dentition. Fine. So these effects are called as the teratogenetic effects. Next, due to the postnatal, due to the birth injury, if there is a forced delivery, it leads to the ankylosis of the TMJ, due to cerebral palsy, due to TMJ injuries. Next are the predisposing metabolic climatic factors, the endocrinal imbalance, the metabolic disturbances, infectious diseases due to any kind of dietary problem like the nutritional deficiency, like the marasmus and kwashiorkor, due to abnormal pressure, like these are all the habits like thumb sucking, the abnormal sucking, finger sucking, tongue thrusting, nail biting, lip biting, speech defect, tonsil and adenoids due to the posture, due to the trauma and the accidents. These all are the general factors. Now next are the local factors. It includes the anomalies of the number. For example, the presence of the supernumerary teeth, the mesiodonts, the missing teeth. You can say there is an oligodontia, anodontia. Anomalies of the tooth size. For example, the microdontia, it means the small teeth. The macrodontia, it means the large and broad teeth. Anomalies of the tooth shape, for example, the peg-shaped lateral incisor, due to the labial frenum, due to the high labial frenum, it is the cause of the midline diastema. Due to the premature loss of the deciduous teeth, prolonged retention of the deciduous teeth, delayed eruption of the permanent teeth, abnormal eruptive pathway, ankylosis due to dental caries, and due to any improper dental restoration. These all are the causes. Important. This next is the IOTN, very important. It is the index of the orthodontic treatment need, which is developed by the Brook and the Shaw So the IOTN, it has the two components. It has an aesthetic component, it has a dental component. So the aesthetic component, it grades from grade 1 to grade 10, in which grade 1, which is the most attractiveness of the teeth, grade 10 is the least attractiveness of the teeth. So very important, please note it down. The grade 1, 2, 3 and 4, they represent no or slightly need for the orthodontic treatment. Grade 5, 6 and 7, they require moderate, or these are the borderline cases which may or may not require the orthodontic treatment. But grade 8, 9 and 10, these are the severe grade, these are definitely require the orthodontic treatment. Important. Fine. So these are the aesthetic component. Now coming on to the dental component, very important, commonly asked MCQ, very important. This is the dental component. So it includes the 5 grade 0, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4 and grade 5. There are 5 grades, all are very important. Please don't get confused, and very important for your MCQ, commonly asked. Starting with the grade 1, none. It means no orthodontic treatment is required. And grade 1, it includes extremely minor malocclusion, which includes the contact point displacement and which is present less than 1 mm. Grade 2, in which there is very little need of the orthodontic treatment, it includes an increase, there is an increase overjet of more than 3.5 millimeter, but less than but in this less than that of the 6 mm with the competent lip. It means competent lips means the lips which closes during the rest position. Fine. Second is the reverse overjet. It is more than 0 mm but less than that of the 1 mm. Third one is the anterior and the posterior crossbite with less than 1 mm of the discrepancy between the retruded contact position and intercuspal position. Next is the contact point displacement more than 1 mm but less than 2 mm. Anterior and the posterior open bite more than 1 mm but less than 2 mm. Increase overbite more than 3.5 mm without the gingival contact. Last is the pre-normal or the post-normal occlusion with the no other abnormalities or no other anomalies. Coming on to the grade 3, it is the borderline or the moderate, in which may or may not require the orthodontic treatment. In this, there is an increased overjet of more than 3.5 mm but less than that of the 6 mm. But in this, the lips are not closed, which are the incompetent lips. Next is the reverse overjet, which is more than 1 mm but less than that of the 3.5 mm. Anterior and posterior crossbite with more than 1 mm but less than that of the 2 mm. Contact point displacement more than 2 mm, less than 4 mm. Lateral or open bite more than 2 mm but less than that of 4 mm. Deep bite, complete or gingival and the palatal tissue but no trauma. Next is grade 4, which definitely need the treatment. So it is less extensive. In this, you can see there is a less extensive hypodontia, which is requiring the pre-restorative orthodontic or the orthodontic space closure. Increased overjet of more than 6 mm, less than that of the 9 mm. A reverse overjet of more than 3.5, but in this no masticatory or the speech difficulties. Next is reverse overjet more than 1 mm but less than 3.5 mm, but in this with the recorded masticatory and the speech difficulties. Next is the anterior and the posterior crossbite with more than 2 mm of the discrepancy between the retruded contact position and the intercuspal position. Posterior lingual crossbite with the no functional occlusal contact, severe contact point displacement important, more than or greater than 4 mm. Extreme lateral or the open bite more than 4 mm. Increase or complete overbite with gingival or the palatal trauma. Partially erupted teeth, tipped and impacted against adjacent teeth. Very important, presence of supernumerary teeth, commonly asked MCQ. And in grade 5, which definitely needs the orthodontic treatment, each and every point is very important for your MCQ. In this, it includes the impeded eruption of the teeth, not the third molars, due to the crowding displacement presence of the supernumerary teeth retained deciduous teeth, and any pathological cause. Extensive hypodontia with the restorative implication requiring the pre-restorative orthodontic. Increase overjet more than 9 mm, a reverse overjet more than 3.5 mm with the reported masticatory and the speech difficulties. Defect of the cleft lip and the palate with the craniofacial abnormalities. Very important, the submerged deciduous teeth, commonly asked MCQ. The submerged deciduous and cleft lip and palate is seen in grade 5. Important. At the last, the Andrews 6 keys to normal occlusion. So the Andrews, he put forward in 1970 the 6 keys to the normal occlusion. Fine. So these are: number 1, the molar inter-arch relationship. Please note it down, very important. Second is the mesio-distal crown angulation. Don't get confused between the first, second and third. Third is the labiolingual crown inclination. See, in the second one there is mesio-distal crown angulation, and in the third one there is labiolingual crown inclination. Fourth one is the absence of rotation. Fifth one is the tight contacts. Last is the curve of spee, and it should not exceed more than 1.5 mm. Fine. So these are the 6 keys to the normal occlusion. So guys, this is all about the classification, etiology of the malocclusion and occlusion. Please go through it once and try to make the notes. Thank you.